In a previous video we spoke about commitment and consistency and how powerful a psychological construction it is, and how certain industries can use our predisposition to commitment and consistency to persuade us to do what they want. Now today I want to tell a story which shows just how strong, just how powerful commitment and consistency can be, coupled with social proof. And we'll also quickly mention a concept called cognitive dissonance. So there have been numerous doomsday cults, usually characterized by the prophecy of a world-ending event or some kind of cataclysmic event. The fear of this cataclysmic event is then used to coerce people into taking particular actions. Now in this story we're going to talk about back in Chicago in 1953. There was a doomsday cult. I believe they were known as the Seekers in the news at the time. This cult had initially only about 30 members and was organized by two main players. Now, although this group was fiercely secretive, there was a small group of scientists who infiltrated the group and wrote a book about this cult. Those scientists were Leon Festinger, Henry Riken, and Stanley Schachter, and they wrote a book called When Prophecy Fails. So instead of using the real names, they used Dr. Charles Armstrong as the doctor and Mrs. Marion Keech as the kind of main actor, the lady who was receiving the so-called revelation from the space aliens. Miss Keech was purported to have been receiving messages from aliens from outer space who'd foretold of a great cataclysmic event, a huge flood that was going to happen and destroy the entire world, and that she could save a small group of people. And she was receiving these messages supposedly by something called automatic writing. She would start writing, and that would be some sort of revelation from these aliens. So the cataclysmic event was going to be a flood, a huge flood that first of all engulfed the Western Hemisphere and then engulfed the entire world. The small group of people that had been convinced by Mrs. Keech and Dr. Armstrong had very high commitment to the cause. Now this commitment was characterized by taking irrevocable steps such as going against family and friends, quitting jobs, throwing away or selling all possessions just in preparation for this supposed event. So this is the commitment we spoke about. Now obviously once this commitment has been made and it's been made publicly, the desire to remain consistent, as we said before, upon this kind of behaviour is extreme, and as the actions taken were quite extreme, the desire to remain consistent would also be proportionally extreme. So the prophesied time for the event came and went. Leon Festinger and his team were there watching exactly what was going on, so we have first-hand accounts of what happened. People started to become agitated that it was supposed to happen at midnight. The flying saucers were supposed to come and take them at midnight, but morning came and nothing had happened. Everyone was silent. Then all of a sudden Mrs. Keech starts her automatic writing again, saying that so much light was generated by the group that God decided to save the world. Apparently one of the cult members just stood up, put on his hat and walked out, and a lot of the others, given the fact they committed so much, were concerned. They just didn't know what to do. This is where we get into social proof. In the event of complete confusion, human beings tend to look around into their social group, people of a similar status to them, to try to understand how they should act. But then Mrs. Keech came up with another point, which was that we have to tell the world now. We can stop being secretive. We need to tell the world about this cause, thereby giving the group some kind of a purpose. And the remaining members would obviously feel more excited and consider the fact that, okay, it hasn't all been in vain. We didn't sell our life's positions and ostracize ourselves from our families and our jobs for nothing. Now at least we can try and proselytize and get more members of the group. What I found really interesting about this, and this is noted in the book Influenced by Dr. Robert Cialdini, is that one of the members of the group, a young woman with a 3-year-old child, she said, "I have to believe the flood is coming on the 21st because I spent all my money. I quit my job. I quit computer school. I have to believe." And then Dr. Armstrong himself said to one of the researchers, 4 hours after the failure of the saucer men to arrive, "I've had to go a long way. I've given up just about everything. I've cut every tie. I've burnt every bridge. I've turned my back on the world. I can't afford to doubt. I have to believe, and there isn't any other truth." And based on these occurrences and what he noted during his time with this group, Dr. Leon Festinger came up with the concept of cognitive dissonance, which we'll cover in another video. It's basically the difference between what you believe inside and what's actually happening on the outside. There's a dissonance between those two, and you either accept it or you have to invent reasons for why the external reality is different to the internal reality. And one final thing, I know this is quite a long video, but it's really interesting. Dr. Cialdini mentioned in his book, so massive was the commitment to their beliefs that no other truth was tolerable. Because the only acceptable form of truth had been undercut by physical proof, there was but one way out of the corner for the group. It had to create another type of proof for the truth of its beliefs, social proof. The greater the number of people who find any idea correct, the more a given individual will perceive the idea to be correct. This is absolutely fascinating. Even an utterly ridiculous commitment, these people desired to remain consistent upon it. They wanted to convince themselves that what they'd done was somehow right, even though it must have been very obvious on a subconscious deep level that this was all completely made up nonsense. As always, hope this was beneficial. I'll see you on the next one.